Ladies and gentlemen, Jay, there you go. I said ladies, gentlemen, and Jay, so you have to stop talking now. Sorry to interrupt your lunch and your conversations, but I'm delighted to be able to introduce to you Héctor Moreira Rodriguez, who is the commissioner at the Comisión Nacional de Hidrocarburos in Mexico. He has a career of more than 13 years occupying positions in different areas of the energy sector. He was Assistant Secretary for Energy Planning and Technological Development at CENER, where he was responsible for designing, evaluating, and proposing strategies for the national energy policy. He was also the Undersecretary of Hydrocarbons at CENER, professional counselor or board member of the Board of Directors of PEMEX, and a board member of the Mexican Petroleum Institute, the Center for Economic Research and Teaching, and the Electric Research Institute. He holds 2 bachelor's degrees, one in chemical sciences and the other in chemical engineering, both from the TESM. He also holds a PhD from Georgetown University, so welcome back home, Héctor. Héctor will be presenting using this screen down here. So if you guys up at that end would like to come forward a little bit so you can see, or alternatively, you can hear him and just look at that screen. It depends how badly you want to see Héctor, I guess. So we'll judge you on that, okay? But Héctor, thank you very much for being with us today. Honestly, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule for traveling all this way. And we look forward to hearing your thoughts. Over to you.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be close to this screen.
I came especially, Comisario, to see you.
Well, I'm sorry to do this, but I'm an engineer and I like numbers. So I have to show you with numbers that what I do has some basis. And I want to present to you 3 ideas. The first one is I want you to have a better understanding of the energy reform, why it was done, and how to judge the reform. The second one is to tell you how well the reform is doing. Okay, whatever you hear, whatever your comments are, I'm going to give you numbers to show you that the reform is going according to schedule. It could be better, maybe, but it's certainly not going back and certainly not failing. And the third one is to show you why Mexico has enormous potential. It's just a question that we get better organized to take advantage of that. Okay, let's start. Okay, this is the real reason for the reform. Okay, we said after that we invented that we needed to improve PEMEX and that we want to make everything more efficient, which is true. But the reason that produced the reform was this graph here. You look, the red one is production and the green one is investment. So if you can see those numbers, you realize that to make production flat, you need to invest far more than we were investing. So the amount of money needed to keep production going exceeded the capacity of the Treasury to do it. Okay, so if you look at this, look at the investment. The investment that was there, it just went up, and there was no sign that it was going to come down at any point. We needed a lot more money than we were investing in PEMEX. Okay? So we changed the Constitution. And the Constitution led us, well, first of all, to create the state-owned production companies, and then to say that we could give contracts to private people or to the state companies. Okay? And the third one is that we need regulatory bodies for energy, CNH and CRE. So they are in the Constitution. So they can be changed or eliminated or anything unless you change the Constitution. This is what CNH does. Okay, we do the surface recognition and exploration activities. We oversee the bidding and signing of contracts. We approve all the exploration and production plans, both for assignments and contracts. In that way, we approve the exploration and production plans for PEMEX and for the private companies. We have to supervise the exploration and production. We have the command, the obligation to go and check that the plans are being done according to the plan that they presented and it was approved. We have already happened that we go and check, and they're not doing it the way they did. They have more wells than they say they were going to have, or less wells than they're going to say they have. But more important, that they were producing too fast. And in the petroleum industry, producing too fast could be a problem. And the other one is we provide technical advice to the Ministry of Energy and other government bodies. What we really do is we make comments on the areas that they send, and they say we're going to have these new areas for bidding, and we give an opinion. They don't have to follow it, but we have an opinion. And we have an opinion in many other issues. And also, we produce documents saying these are problems that Mexico is facing now, because we have a long-term vision of the business. We're not a 6-year institution. We have to have a 25 years, what I call scope. This is what I want you to understand, because this is so important. This is the life cycle of our petroleum exploration and production project. Okay? I'm sorry. First, you have a phase of exploration and evaluation. How long is that? 4 years? 5 years? If it's deep water, 7 years, 10 years. So in the exploration and evaluation, you invest money. You don't get one single barrel of oil. You don't get any income. And then you have the area of production. It goes up, and then it starts declining. Okay? And it comes a point when you are getting 10 barrels a day from that well, and then you start considering if you should just simply close it, because it's too expensive for the operation. You can have new exploration. You can reevaluate the information that you have, or you can use enhanced recovery. Okay? So what you have is something like this: 0, 0, 0, production, down, and then a little bump at the end, if you want, if you can. How big is the bump? Well, depends on what you do, and depends on what you have found. Okay. So is this clear? Yes? Okay. This is 40 years. In some cases less, in some cases long. But there is 3 phases: exploration, production, and new exploration and revaluation. Okay? What happened with investment? Well, at the beginning, you invest in exploration. It's not that expensive exploration, but you don't know what it is. It's like looking for something. Once you found what the oil is, you start drilling like mad, and you get production up. And then it just comes like that. If you, for instance, at the end, you have enhanced recovery, you have another bump of the investment. Okay. So this is the way investment goes. This is cash flow. At the beginning, the cash flow is negative. You invest, you don't get a single barrel, and this number goes worse and worse. And then you start producing, this goes up, and you get your cash flow. And then you get your profit. Okay. So how long does it take for a company to start being in the black? Well, if it took 4 years in exploration, maybe another 2 for production before you're in the black. So it's a long-term business. It's not today for tomorrow. You have to plan the long time, okay? So what happened when the reform was proposed? If the problem was that we needed more investment, where would you concentrate the investment of the private companies, of the foreign companies coming to Mexico? Here? Why here? Because PEMEX wanted to invest and get money immediately. So these are the contracts. This is what was given to the private companies. And this was given to the private companies. And what about this? PEMEX. All that central part, 90% of all the known resources were given to PEMEX. And that was strengthening PEMEX. I give you the best areas. So what happened here? Well, PEMEX can enter into partnerships, but that's a PEMEX decision. That's not a CNH decision. That's PEMEX. PEMEX can do a farm out. Well, it's a PEMEX decision. Do I need a partner? Okay. So all this area was given to PEMEX. All this area here was area that was given to the private companies, and this area here that was given to the private companies. That was the essence of the reform. Get the money where the money is needed, even if it's not so profitable immediately. Okay? Very good. Okay. So these are the areas, the bidding processes that have already happened. Look at this. They're all here or here. Okay, and some of them here, which are the farm outs and the partnerships, the PEMEX associate. The central part is PEMEX. What is going to happen in the long run? Well, in the long run, this here are going to start moving this way. How long is it going to take? Well, depends. 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. Finally, the private companies are going to move to the central part, and they're going to start producing more and more and more oil. Okay? Well, this is the plan. What has been happening? We have given, let me go back to this. Okay. All the areas that the nation has, they're roughly 650 areas. About 350 were here and were given to PEMEX. Okay? Some of these areas here that were given to PEMEX, PEMEX said, I'm sorry, I don't want them. Okay? I mean, the production is too low. I don't want that because I'm not going to invest in that. Okay? So here is all the areas of PEMEX. Here is about 100 areas. Here is about 200 areas here. Okay, of which not all have been assigned. Okay. How many contracts have been assigned? 112. 112 contracts have been assigned to private companies or to PEMEX, because PEMEX can be a bidding power. They can say, that area looks very interesting, I want it. It's exploration, I don't care, it looks very interesting. PEMEX can do that. Or PEMEX can enter a partnership. So only one here has ended. And ended meant the guy bid for the area and then found out that it wasn't as good as he thought and said, thank you very much, here it is. Have it back. And they lose the amount that they invested, and they lose the money that they pay for it. Okay? Okay. 52 are onshore, 32 are in shallow water, and 28 are in deep water. So look at this. This is everything that has been assigned. Roughly 100 is about, 16% of the total. 1/6. Okay? PEMEX has 350, and then 200 are still to be assigned, not yet. Okay? This is what is expected from all these contracts. Look, this is the production. 4, 8, 17, 98, 138, etc. So in this period here, 2016 to 2019, there's hardly any production from these areas because they were exploring. They were doing evaluation. What is the end? Well, the end is by 2026, they're going to be producing nearly 400,000 barrels of oil per day. Okay? So it's doing very well. Well, but this is the plan. Okay. Now, why do I say the reform has been very successful? Well, this is the first one, which is exploration. These are the recognition and surface studies, the seismic studies, or seismic, I don't know how you say it, seismic studies, okay. All this has been now being explored. The private companies, these are private companies, have invested $2.75 billion, okay? They have done 52 projects, 21 companies, and they have to pay us a little bit of the money that they charge the companies when they sell the information. So up to now, CNH has received $40 million as its share of the profits, okay? But the important thing is this area here has turned out to be incredibly good, okay? And the exploration that's been done, 16, 17, and 18, is twice as much as the previous 70 years. So there's never been so much exploration in Mexico, okay? And all this information is now available to any private company that wants. Because you can say, I bought whatever. I bought this information here, I think it's wonderful, and you can go and say, I want this area to be bidded in the bidding group next time. Okay, you can, what it's called, nominate an area, okay, which says, I want it. Okay, this is the number of wells that have been done. Look at this. 1 in 2016, 14 in 2017, 20 in 2018, 96 in 2019. So all the exploration plans are now in full bloom. They're now perforating, not only doing seismic exploration, or seismic exploration, okay, but they're now drilling, okay? And some of them, if you look at this, they have gone beyond exploration and now already done development wells, which means to get production. Okay, so they're doing rather well, okay? This is how much has the government got from these companies. We're talking, again, 16, 17, and 18, okay? Okay, this is the money that a company paid to enter the biddings, $860 million. This is the money that a company paid to PEMEX if PEMEX had some installations in the area. Okay, I admit that you have already spent money. I admit that you already built infrastructure. I'm going to pay you. Okay, these are the taxes. So in these last 3 years, the companies have paid $3 billion to the tax take or government take. Okay, and what do we expect for the next 5 years? Well, this we don't know because we don't know what the bidding is going to be. So all we know is the taxes, which is going to be $16 million. These are the companies that already exist, and they were calculating how much taxes they're going to pay. If for any reason we have new biddings, of course we're going to get more taxes. Okay? This is the money that has been approved. Remember, you present a plan, an exploration plan, or you present a production plan. That plan has activities and budget. This is what's already been approved, okay? This is 11 provisional plans, 28 exploration, 30 evaluation, 20 gun production. This total number is 90. When they finish the task, they would all be here, and we're gonna have 400 plans. So how much money are we talking about? Well, up to now, we have approved $30 billion in investment. So when all this moves on, like in 4 years' time, we're going to get $143 billion approved investment. It's not going to happen one day to the next. It's going to happen during the duration of the contract. Okay? This is production. I don't know if you see this. Nothing. Okay, so where are we now? We are now in 70,000 barrels per day, okay? And this is only the beginning. It's only the few that have moved into the next area. So about 4% of the national production. Okay, maybe more, isn't it? 7? Okay. This is the plan that we have. Okay. This is production here. Okay. This is PEMEX, and these are the private companies. And this is the new areas to be assigned. Remember that we still have 200 areas waiting to be assigned. We can assign them to PEMEX, or we can assign them to a private company, or we can assign them to a joint venture of PEMEX with a private company. But unless we start this assignment, well, we're not going to get to the goal. So what does this require? Well, by 2024, this is the plan, 2.4 million barrels. But if you want to keep it, you need to keep on assigning areas, okay? The areas that is very interesting, because we've done so much exploration, now we have so many more areas. We have discovered a lot of oil on the west of Yucatan. We call it the Yucatan Escarpe, I don't know how to call it that. When it goes down, okay? So let's hope it's this. This is natural gas production, something similar. And again, in this case, the private companies are going to become more important. With the contracts that have already been assigned, like by 2032, they're going to be producing 40% of all the gas. They're going to produce really as much gas. 50% of the gas is going to be from private companies according to plan. And as I said, up to now, we've been according to plan. Okay? But this is the most important number, which is this. This is how much money do you require? All these plans, remember I said there was a number there? Well, how much, sorry. I said this is the most important thing, is how much money does the nation require, okay? This is the investment that is going to be required, 15, 22, 21, on average, $24 billion per year. You can see why we couldn't have done it without the energy reform. $24 billion has to be invested every single year from now to 2040. So where are we going to get that money? Well, some of them has to be PEMEX. But if you notice, PEMEX is coming down. Okay, then you have the private companies already signed, already assigned, and then we have the areas to be assigned. And as I said, this here, well, could be given to PEMEX. That's not a decision. That's a, how could I say, a strategy decision from SENER. Okay, so are we going to be able to make the 2.4 million barrels per day by 2024? Well, yes, if you invest $24 billion every single year. Okay, when you hear this is where we are now. This is the money that has already been assigned for 2019. If you see, there's still like a couple of billions left, okay? But the amount of money that is going to be required, if you see the red compared to the blue, tells you that it's going to be more and more % private. So private money is going to be more than PEMEX money by 2032, okay? One thing that is happening in all this is, I have to put a, how could I call it? A little note at the bottom. That doesn't take into consideration repayment of PEMEX debt, okay? So if you include what is the repayment of the debt, that's roughly $10 billion per year. So we need $34 million for investment plus repayment of the debt. And that's only PEP. Yes, this is exploration and production. You're right. Okay, so this is what the situation is. Really is, let me go back to this. I'm sorry, because I should have told you that, which is this. This has been going very well, but really the pieces of gold have been these ones. When you go to a field that PEMEX abandoned in 1965, and PEMEX says, I don't want it because it's dry, a lot of companies are discovering that there is more oil than they expected. We have had already 3 or 4 cases of companies that says, well, yes, it's dry, but if you go 500 meters lower down, you're going to find more. Okay, and that's the case of Eni, and that's the case of some other companies who have found a lot more oil than they expected. So these companies here, this Fleetwood, for instance, one of these, okay, that they found like a lot of oil that they didn't expect, and they already presented a plan to start producing like next year, and they're going to pay $7 billion. So it's turning out that a lot of the PEMEX fields were done with the 1950 or 1960 or 1970 technology. When you use new technology for exploration or seismic information, you discover that there is more oil than you expected. So we have two golden nuggets. One of them is reprocess those fields that were considered to be, well, zero, and like deep water. Deep water is turning out to be very good. It's turning to be very promising. So, well, I think, as I said, the reform is doing very well. It's producing money for the state. It's producing money for PEMEX. And what exactly are now, what the candidate proposed and what has the president done? He said, we're going to increase the hydrocarbon production from 1.8 to 2.5. Well, he's increased PEMEX investment budget to $10.5 billion. Not enough, but certainly not a little either. So he's already here. They have gone now into the areas that they had not explored or produced before. 20 new areas are programmed to start production this year. This is also very important. They have been starting, what I said in the conference, lowering the taxes for PEMEX. Okay, you have to lower the taxes for PEMEX. I don't think they lowered enough, but they're on the way. All the exploration and product contracts are progressing according to schedule. Okay, but they announced no new biddings until 2021. Okay, well, that's the decision that they took. They say they want to check all the contracts, they want to check all the information. I would say, let's hope we can convince them to start earlier. But that doesn't depend on us. Okay, think of the refineries. The refineries were not given the appropriate maintenance, so they have been given money to rehabilitate 6 existing refineries and to start a new refinery. Okay, this is nothing compared to this in terms of money, but here it is. Okay, what happens with CNH? Okay, we hear a lot about the regulating bodies. We have not felt any pressure, okay? We have not felt in any way like, what would I say, ignored or rejected or anything. The problem that we have had is, and I have to be open to say, salaries, okay? One of the things this government did is to reduce the cost of the upper levels of government. So they cut salaries in half. So 2 people say, well, I'm sorry, but I have a better offer. Okay, well, that's it. Nothing to be done, okay? They have reviewed all the exploration and production contracts, the pre-existing. They have been reviewed, they haven't accepted. So we are now continuing according to plan. And the other thing is we're still waiting for the Senate to fill the 3 current vacancies that CNH has. Okay, the president has to send 3 names to the Senate has to choose 1, and that 1 has to get 2/3 of the vote in the Senate. So that's not easy, and it could take, well, I don't know, more time than we think. Because to get 2/3 of all the senators to vote for you is not that easy. Okay. And the other one is we have had meetings with the PEMEX and the private companies and said, well, if we have to function faster because we're going to have 90 contracts and then 400 contracts, okay, how do we do this faster? So now we move into a system called that you have 1 person assigned to you, okay? Instead of you submitting your plan, somebody sits with you and says, we have to do this, 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 this. This is the right papers. No, this is not. Change this, do this, so that nothing is rejected. We analyze, accept or reject, but not because of lacking of information or you didn't present the right study. So we are trying to reduce the times needed to approve a plan to a quarter what it was before. That's a big, big thing, but we have to do it because we don't have enough people to do all that, okay? And now we have another thing that we have to do this year is A lot of the plans have been approved, so now we have to check that they're doing it right. And that implies somebody going there to check. We already found several people that are not doing right, and you have to stop it, okay? Because you can cause more damage than it's worth it. So I don't know if I made clear what the reform was and convince you that the reform is doing very well, okay? And also, like, we find that resources that Mexico has are far more than we expected. So we have the, how could I say, opportunity. Now we have to have the system that brings investment into the country. Okay, if we have twice as much research as we thought we had, well, where's the money? So we have to bring, again, private companies, private investment, foreign investment, etc. One of the things we're very proud of is that it's now 25 Mexican oil companies. Okay, in Monterrey, I'm from Monterrey, there's 3 oil companies already. They're not that big, but they will be big eventually. So you're creating a new sector of private companies or a new sector of companies that are partners with PEMEX in such and such an area. Okay. And also, another thing that we're finding, and again, this is good for PEMEX, is now we have more information on how to do better the wells, what is the technology that is more efficient, etc. And that is given to every company. Your area is very similar to her area, so why don't you see what he's doing or she's doing? So it's really working very well. I don't know if you have any questions. I think I'm done.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Morera, for an excellent presentation and for giving us, I think, one of the most important things is explaining to people and often to policymakers how long it takes to get to first oil. Because that's been one of the biggest issues, I think, in the government's criticism of the energy reform, is that, well, we haven't seen any oil yet. Well, it takes time, so being patient. But do we have any questions here from the audience? Yes, please. Can we get a microphone, please? It's coming right now. It's going to be a great question. We're willing to wait.
I'm Heiko Garatz with Argus Media. Just to confirm, are the farm outs for later this year canceled? Are you proceeding with them?
We don't know yet. They've been postponed to July, but I don't have yet the final decision. It doesn't really correspond to us. That's a PEMEX decision. PEMEX is the one that has to decide do they want to go on with it or they want to postpone it. I don't have an answer to that question. Okay. I think you should ask. Okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Yes, please. We'll pass you the microphone. There we go.
You talked about the auctions being delayed till 2021. How does that impact the production goals of this administration?
Well, if you go back to this, okay. If for any reason, look what happens. This is the production of the assigned areas. If you were to keep on opening areas, you would have something like that. We could reach 3 million barrels if we went on with the biddings, okay? Sorry, no, I don't know. You tell me when they're going to start the bidding. If it's 2021, there's 2 questions. Is how many areas are going to be open? We continue the same rate of 50 areas per year, okay? Then instead of 2.7, we should be going really to 3 million, okay? But again, that's a decision that is not ours. It's really the one that decides. Really is the Senera, the president of the nation. Okay, do you want to continue in 2021, or can we convince you to start in 2020, or do you want to delay to 2022? I don't know, but it has a cost. Okay, and this you can see here. Oh, sorry, this one. Okay. This here is money paid in the first 3 years. And this is the transfers to PEMEX. And this is taxes. So we're talking about $3 billion, okay? So divide that by 3, it's $1 billion. So every year that you don't have the bidding is going to cost you $1 billion. Okay, that's more or less rough number. Okay.
Is there a specific plan with respect to the refineries? And then with respect...
Could you introduce yourself, please? Sorry.
Loana Martin with Squire Patton Boggs. I was interested in whether or not there was a specific plan on with respect to the existing refineries, and then I understand that there's an FSRU plan for Pajaritos. Those specifically, and then with respect to Cadereyta and the refineries that were halfway built but not at capacity.
No, I don't dare answer that question.
Okay.
I'm in upstream, so I really don't know.
Yes, please. Tanya.
I'm sorry.
Tanya Rabasa, why I have the impression that in Mexico, whenever we are talking about upstream, the focus is on oil and not so much on natural gas. Why would you think that is so? And if we look back at natural gas, production has been falling. What would you see as the trend lines for the future on natural gas? Thank you very much, Dr. Moreira.
I don't know if you noticed when I put the triangle at the bottom, I said like we are advisors to the government. We have been very worried about natural gas. Okay, the production of natural gas has been falling. And one thing that you don't see in the graphs that they present is that half of all the gas that is produced by PEMEX never enters the market. It just goes back into being reinjected. So I wouldn't even put it there. So if you take what % of all that gas goes into the market compared to import gas, we are now 80%. 80% of all the gas of Mexico is now coming from import. Because you shouldn't count the gas that you get out and then reinject immediately. So it's okay, you can put it as production, but it's not really production, in my opinion. Okay, so we're now in 80%. Okay, so we are worried. And we are worried because it's more complicated than it seems. We are the nation that has largest dependent of any other nation in the world. I mean, Japan has no gas, okay, but they have a rule that no more than 25% from any source. So they buy from Australia and Qatar and New Guinea, etc., so that no nation is more than 25%. We are 90-something% dependent on the US. I don't think that's healthy. Also, if you look at the maps, they presented a map of the connections. Okay, 60% of all the gas that enters the nation enters in a 60-kilometer span of the river. Just imagine that we have a hurricane that hits Brownsville, okay? And of course, just goes up the Rio Bravo Valley. And then for security reasons, they close the pipelines. What are you gonna do with suddenly have the electricity gone? I mean, it is national security. We cannot depend so much in one source, and we cannot depend so much in, well, it's really no more than 4 pipelines, and they all come in one after the other. Okay, they go from Laredo to Reynosa. That's it. I think it's really national security. Also, it's not so patriotic. It's simply, okay, imagine this scenario. Okay, there is a problem in, what do you like, Ukraine, okay? And Russia starts not sending gas through Ukraine. So the US starts sending natural gas to Europe. What do you think is going to happen with the price? The price is going to go higher suddenly, and we have to pay it. So it goes beyond being patriotic. It's a question of, again, national security. We have to have all the sources of gas. And somebody said it in the previous conference. Mexico is one of the largest gas nations in the world. Okay, we have a lot of gas. So we have to find ways to produce more gas. And that's something that Senachi does. Wait a second. So this is what we do. Okay, we produce books like this on natural gas, or we produce this on reserves, or the problem of mature fields, etc. So here is what we think about natural gas, and here are all the numbers. Okay, so you can read it. The exam is next week. Also, I want to get something else out because I couldn't stop. Okay, remember how long it took for cars going from the first gasoline car to mass production of gasoline? How long do you think it took? The first gasoline car was a Mercedes in Germany, 1896. By 1908, Henry Ford was mass producing cars. The German cars was leather seats, done according to your taste, okay, beautiful and very expensive. Henry Ford started producing cars, very simple, black, etc. Okay, 12 years. How long do you think it's going to take before we move to electric cars? All electric cars. 20 years. Okay. 10 years? Nobody knows. But it's of that order. Because what's the limitation of the electric cars? The capacity of the battery. And the capacities of batteries is increasing something like 15% per year. So how long is it going to take before a small battery is all you need for the whole day, or to go to Mexico City driving? That is coming. And what is going to happen when all the cars are electric? The amount of electricity that Mexico has to produce is twice as much as electricity as we're producing now. And how does that translate into? Natural gas. So to prepare for the future, we need to have more gas. And that's what all the policies for gas have to come. So we have to be talking about it, pressuring the government, pressuring Senate to say, what are you going to do about producing more gas in this country when we have the 6th largest deposits of the world? Okay. I mean, the first gas field is 23 kilometers from Monterrey. Imagine Monterrey having Mexican natural gas at 23 kilometers. In the cost of electricity, the cost of gas. So gas is our, how do you call it? Well, the bellwether that we have to do in CNH. We have to do something about gas. You're totally right, Tania. I'm glad you was. Okay, I'm sorry. I got carried away.
Hector, thank you very, very much. I'm intrigued by one of the things that you said in particular, which is you talked about these golden nuggets of enhanced recovery, basically, and of deep water. Very quick question for you. Enhanced recovery that has started, the projects which PEMEX had abandoned, and private companies, how much are they producing now, and how much do you think they will produce?
No, not yet. They will produce quite a lot. They will produce, I would say, in 2-3 years' time, they'll be producing 100,000 barrels.
100,000 barrels.
But okay, again, they know that there is oil there that they didn't expect. Yes. But that's different from starting drilling, because Absolutely. You have to...
But this provides a useful bonus for the government.
Yes, it will be.
It will be a nice little bump.
It will be a nice little bump. And this be already, I can't remember, I think 4 discoveries of that size. Okay. Some of them might fizzle and it's not as good as they thought, or they don't have the money, or it's going to take longer. But there are golden nuggets.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Dr. Hector Morel. Right now, we're going to find our way back over to the auditorium to continue with the program. So if you can make your way as quickly as possible, and then we will restart the program. Thank you.